Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MMLA Connect Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kik, a proud member of the MMLA, and today I have Karen Bondar of Arch Mortgage Insurance Company. She is an MMLA legend and an industry legend. Karen, hello. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Steve, for having me. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's truly an honor for me to be able to do this and interview people like you. I feel super lucky to have the opportunity to get, a half an hour or an hour of your time and just learn more about you. So we're really excited to have you on today and get to know who you are and how you've helped the industry and continue to do that. So with that being said, Karen, tell us about your career, where you started, where you came from, and how you got to where you are right now.
Okay. I started in 1987 at a company called Glenn Computer. And truly, that was a time when lenders, many of them were not automated other than typewriters. So imagine doing closing documents on a typewriter. That's the kind of world a lot of lenders were living in. The mortgage industry was really exploding at that time. And what Glenn Computer did is they provided a loan origination system as well as the hardware. So we would not only go in and set people up to process, close, underwrite, do secondary, and do servicing on software, but we also provided a mainframe, did all the wiring in the office of all the terminals, and it was really a kind of a one-stop turnkey solution. So I worked there for 10 years, did a lot of training, met a lot of people throughout Michigan as well as in the Midwest, and really learned the industry as a vendor by going into lender shops and seeing what they did and then really applying it to how you use software to achieve that.
What was your title there, Karen?
I was, so many different things, but I worked in training. I did a lot of system updates, was responsible for that. I was the HMDA queen, when HMDA was due every year. That was one of my responsibilities. And then over
We're still dealing with HMDA. Don't worry. It's not gone.
Exactly. I have great stories about that. And really started work in the 90s with when DU and LP came out, kind of integrating that into the system. And when I left, I love technology, and I didn't expect that I would leave the technology world, but I had an opportunity to go to work for United Guaranty as a sales rep in Michigan. So that's where I got my start in mortgage insurance, and that was in 97. And then right at the end of 2016, I acquired United Guaranty, and I've been with Arch since. So I'm really looking at 27, going on 28 years in the mortgage insurance space, coming up on this May.
Wow. You've been through a lot of, right? You've seen just about everything that the mortgage industry, I think the 80s is really when mortgages and mortgage-backed securities started becoming a thing, right?
Right.
And people realized you could make money off of that, and that's when things really started to get big. So let's talk about being on the tech side of things originally. Not that you're not in tech now, because we know that it's a huge, important piece of every business nowadays. But you were on that front end piece of like DU and LP, right? That's desktop underwriter and loan product advisor, LPA, right?
Right.
Those are the automated underwriting systems that, for our listeners, people probably don't necessarily know what those are or what they mean, but those are the systems in which our actual underwriters review and make sure that everything matches what we've submitted to the system. The DU is for Fannie Mae, LP is for Freddie Mac. But yeah, you've been on that other side of the technology piece, and you've been a vendor for a long time. So tell us how that gives you a, sort of a more behind the scenes look at things.
Yeah, to go back to a time when people were used to doing everything without automation, and the stress that moving to automation really caused a lot of people, the end user, it was very stressful for people. Now, owners of companies, executives, they certainly saw this as a benefit, although costly, but they saw it as a benefit. But watching people convert from, let's go back to even when they started out with a dot matrix printer, going to a laser printer, that evolution has been really fun to watch. And now we don't think anything about all the technology we use, but it has given me helped me get a view of what lenders are doing. I've never been a lender. So when I used to go into an account and see what they're doing in their job and then applying it to technology was really fun. And we're always trying to get better with our system. By the way, Glen Computer became Mortgage Builder years later. And even today, the technology that we use, it seems so simple, but I will tell you so much goes into it for all of us. But it is making our lives easier, although sometimes I know we think it isn't. But it helped me learn the business. It seriously helped me learn the business.
Yeah. I think, sometimes we look at technology with a negative mindset at times, because when it doesn't work, it can be frustrating, right? But at the end of the day, it's made the mortgage process so much smoother and quicker, if you will, and really allowed us to help more people, honestly. So the technology,
Absolutely.
although we, may dread it at times, and change, right? People don't want, I think that's the biggest thing, is change, right? And when we think of
Change is hard.
technology, that
Yeah.
accelerates change too, right? So dipping your toes into that, if you're someone who's resistant to change, is probably a difficult thing to look at. But it's pretty
Exactly.
cool that you started there and then moved into the mortgage insurance piece, and you've been with UG / now Arch for how long now?
Almost 28 years.
28 years
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Wow.
This May.
And is
And a
Glen
lot.
Computer around still?
It's Mortgage Builder now.
But do they
And
still exist?
they still exist. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
And mortgage insurance has changed, so much since I
Yeah.
started. When I started, I remember everything was rate cards. We handed out rate cards. And the focus was really on the underwriter. That's who you spoke with. That's who you tried to convince to do business with you. And then we saw the evolution of risk-based pricing and the focus, moving to the front, where an LO is looking at so many different things, not just price, but also guidelines, who's easy to do business with, and things like that. When I say 28 years, I look back and I say it's very different today than it was in the beginning, and will continue to evolve for sure.
Absolutely. And that's an important conversation, because I talk to mortgage insurance reps at times, and it is important that LOs understand, the importance of what you can do from a mortgage insurance standpoint, and also how it works, right? The better that we can explain it to our customers and whatnot, I think more people would probably choose to use mortgage insurance if they knew about it, versus, paying 20-25% down, because it is more affordable for people than what the I guess general public would say. So it really is an important piece, and in reality, it's allowed people to put less than 20% down and buy a house, right? And that just really wasn't the case before the mortgage insurance companies came around.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate everything you do over there. We work together, we're a team. And speaking of that, you've been a part of the MMLA team for a long time, Karen. You've won the Vic Miller and the Ambassador Award in the past, and you continue to be a leader, on the state level and at local levels as well. And you show up to all the events, Karen. You still come to many of the events. It's much appreciated. There's a lot we can continue to learn from you. But tell us why you got involved with the MMLA, and sort of the evolution of what you've seen through the MMLA and where you see it going.
Sure. Back in '87, I worked for someone who saw a lot of value in being involved in the association. I was told, hey, sign up for the golf outing if you'd like to golf. And at that time, the Southeast golf outing was so big, we had to have 2 18-hole courses to accommodate everyone. So it was a lot of, and
Pretty cool.
And each hole, was doubled up with people. So imagine, just hundreds of people attended that outing.
Yeah.
And from there, I jumped on a committee. I cannot tell you what the first committee was that I was on. And I think over the years, I've probably been involved at least once with most committees. But if you want to hear something that I think I talk about a lot that I think is very cool, back in the day, there was a group of people called the Young Mortgage Bankers, and they were a younger group in the association, and they planned a lot of the social events. And I was actually a little bit younger than them. So for me, everything was right in my wheelhouse. They just put on great events. And I enjoyed going and getting to know people, and it helped me in my job as well because a lot of those people were also in the accounts that I was working with. Back at that time, we were called the Michigan Mortgage Bankers Association. We had a name change, I want to say in the maybe late 90s. And I know you interviewed Joanne recently. Joanne probably started working in the association about 6 months after I joined, and we just really saw a change when she took over, as you know. But through the years, I was president of the East chapter, which does not exist anymore. I was president of the Southeast, and both of those roles gave me an opportunity as a vendor to be a part of the state board. And when you have an opportunity to work with the state board, you learn a lot about the inner workings of the association, and it's so worthwhile to do that. And then just running committees and, going out and trying to recruit people to help you. You learn a lot that way. And back in the day, we did all of our work face to face. We met once a month face to face. Now, we're doing Zoom calls, which, by the way, is a very simple thing for anyone who's not involved to do. You get on a Zoom call for 1 hour a month for committee work. And again, so worthwhile.
Yeah.
You get to know people, you get to know other vendors, you get to know lenders, and
You learn things too.
you learn things, and it helps grow your own business because you get to know people. So for me, it's been nothing but a positive experience. You learn to work with people who are different than you. And what I'm seeing now with all the new people that are involved, all the new energy is I'm hearing ideas and seeing things that we've never tried. And that is so good for us. It's, a few years back, we were complaining we don't have enough new people. We don't have young people. And guess what? We do. And it's working. And people like me who've been around a while embrace that. It's fun. It's energetic. So I can't say enough about it. And if you're a member, then get more involved. If you're not a member, become a member. That's my mantra.
Yeah, I think the whole getting involved thing, it goes to each individual, but you have to get involved to get something out of it, right? And
Right.
we talk about committees. I'm on a few committees, but I'm on the legislative committee, and I want to point that out just because
Oh, yeah.
I know nothing about
Huge.
the legislation, right? But I want to learn, right? And I want to learn how it
Mm-hmm.
works and how we deal with Washington and, even our own
Mm-hmm.
state legislature. It's super important. I'm kind of like the person that's asking questions and, like, luckily I don't care if it's not a very smart question, but I don't know
Never.
anything about how the inner workings of it, takes place. So I want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I want to become informative so I can talk to other people about what we're doing with the MMLA. But you have to get
Mm-hmm.
involved, right? You got to join those committees, and it really is like once a month. It's a 1 hour Zoom call. You said, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not like you're taking away your schedule and your calendar for the year if you
Absolutely.
become a member. So yeah, definitely get involved. You will
Absolutely.
learn something, and you will meet new people that will ultimately help your career. But let's go back to the fact that you are a vendor, Karen. You're a vendor in the
Mm-hmm.
mortgage industry. Obviously, we're the MMLA, the Michigan Mortgage Lenders Association. But as a vendor, what would you say are some of the best reasons another vendor should get involved?
Absolutely. The opportunity to meet people at every level of an organization through the association it's like a warm introduction when you go to these events and you meet people. If you're not involved in the MMLA and you want to get in touch with someone at an account, sometimes you leave a lot of voicemails, you leave a lot of emails, and you just are looking for someone that can say, introduce me to Steve Kik at Lake Michigan Credit Union. And that's what we do for each other through the MMLA. There are other vendors outside of Michigan that I'll get calls from that will say, listen, I don't know so and so. I know you live in Michigan. Can you make an introduction? And I'm happy to do that because people did that for me. And that's just a huge benefit, number one. Second, the education component that you receive in our industry is so helpful. And we offer in person, we offer webinar. But as a vendor and wanting to know the landscape of what's going on in Michigan, if you're not involved with the MMLA, I don't know how your a finger is on the pulse of all that. So I think it's critical for vendors. Salespeople, we like to be where people are, and the events are where it's at. So another reason to be involved.
I love that, and you talked about it earlier too. We're starting to attract more younger people. But I think that goes to show you the leaders and the people who have been around here for a long time understand that that is needed and it's necessary. So if you're a young person and you're thinking about joining an association, we have some of the nicest people who are tenured in this business that will bring you in with open arms. I mean, honestly,
Agreed.
we have so many great people. Karen, you are one of the nicest people, and I've heard nothing but good things about anyone that's ever talked about you. So truthfully, we are lucky to have someone like you, and we have lots of other great people too. But, I think you embracing and the people who have been around for long, embracing the younger generation and knowing that that is needed has been a huge advantage for our association. And so if you're someone who's young and you're looking for the next step in your career, I urge you to at least reach out to someone in the MMLA, connect with us and ask us questions, and maybe show up to an event, right?
Absolutely. And then we'll be there to say hello and introduce you to other people, because that's a critical part too of being a member is when we have events and you see new people, you reach out, you include them, because you don't want people walking away feeling like I just didn't get the warm and fuzzy. So it's important that we continue to foster that.
Absolutely. And, I know we have a big push for that this year too, is that we want to make sure everyone feels welcome whether they've come to an event before or this is their first one. We want you to feel welcome, and we do invite you to come in. Join us.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Karen, tell us a little bit about what's going on at Arch. I know, you've been there for a long time. The industry's changing a little bit here, but talk to us about what your company has going on right now and how you can help people or anything exciting that you got.
Sure. I'm super proud to work for Arch. We're owned by Arch Capital, so we're not a monoline insurance company. We're diversified. Through United Guarantee, we were the pioneers of risk-based pricing. I'm also very proud of that, because if you pulled out an old rate card and you compared it to pricing today, on average, it is cheaper for a consumer today to have mortgage insurance than it used to be. And so that involves a group of pricing people and risk people to constantly be analyzing risk. And I know we do a good job. I know we do a great job with that. And the risk-based pricing is what brought us out of that mortgage meltdown that so many of us went through, and propelled us forward to continue to insure business. And if we ever go through another claims cycle in our industry, we're prepared for that. But some things we do outside of just your mortgage insurance that Steve Kik is thinking about for a loan you're working on right now is we offer second lien mortgage insurance. We also have a structured products team that looks at lenders with portfolio business that's uninsured, and we can put insurance on seasoned loans. So that's been fantastic for our portfolio lenders going through, the craziness that the world is in today, and wanting to maybe have an enhancement to those loans going forward. And we have a lot of value adds for loan officers. We're always looking at ways to help you grow your business. We provide training. Just overall, I'm just super proud to represent them in the state of Michigan. It's been a fantastic company to work for.
I love hearing that. When you found a good place to be at, it's really easy to sell things, right? And it's not even selling it, really. It's just, it's just talking about the great things that your company has to offer. So, I feel the same way about my company. I'm glad to hear you say the same things in it. And you would imagine that someone who's been somewhere for 28 years probably likes the company and agrees with where they're going and where they're headed. So that's pretty amazing, especially in our industry, because as you know, in the mortgage industry, people like to bounce around, right? I mean, it's not uncommon for people to, job hop in our industry. So it's not very common to see someone stay somewhere for that long. So kudos to you, and kudos to Arch for, being a company that's done a great job at, creating an environment in which you feel comfortable and you want to stay, and you feel like you're also growing, right?
Right. Yes. You have to feel good about what you're doing every day, but you have to feel good about the future of where you're going. And for those of us that have been at certain companies for a long time, I think it's fantastic. It does say something. I'm proud of the tenure I have, but Also, I recognize that on the vendor side, we do see our customers move around a lot. And I get calls from time to time, people asking, just talking about moving around. And, I always say to people, you really got to identify what's causing you to feel this way. Is it the company or how you feel about your job? And I think, in our industry, we are oftentimes very quick to make a move. And I understand on the loan officer side, some of the dynamics that cause that. But I always like to ask people, really stop and think about, if you really like your company, try to make it work, because a good company can sometimes be a hard thing to find out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you open up a whole nother can, at least from a loan officer perspective. Switching companies is a big deal on so many levels, right? For me, I've been at the same company for 15 years, 12 in mortgages, but I understand every single step of the process at my company. I know all the processors, underwriters, back end staff, and sometimes people don't understand how big of an advantage it is to know those people and be a part of an organization for that long, right? If I need something done, or I got to talk to an underwriter, right? They know me and they trust me, and I trust them, and we can have a conversation. Hey, we don't need this, right? Here's the guideline, or something along those lines, whatever it is, right? And it just, those relationships built over years and years make a big difference. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been so fortunate with that in my company. And we were all just together a couple weeks ago. And I just thought of all the support I have behind me on a daily basis. And I'm a remote employee. I mean, I have been out in Michigan away from my corporate office my entire career, but I never felt as though I'm on an island, because I have this amazing team behind me, a phone call away, an email away. They take not just great care of my customers, but they take great care of me. And you can't put a price on that. So super appreciative of it. And I think it shows in how we handle our customers. We have a lot of synergy with our employees, for sure.
I love that. And that's awesome to hear. Karen, there's enough mortgage industry talk and lingo and all that kind of stuff that we can bring up and discuss. But let's get a little bit more personal here, because that's what we're here for, Karen. So tell us about your personal life. Share with us what you will. Tell us who the real Karen Bondar is, and what gets you up in the morning, why you come to work every day, and what you do when you're not at the office.
Sure. Kind of like the Journey song. I'm a small town girl. I grew up in Dexter, outside of Ann Arbor, and I love my hometown. I've been in Metro Detroit my whole career. I live in Novi. Married to an awesome guy, Kim, who was born on St. Patrick's Day, Kim Patrick. So that's probably why I married him. I'm Irish and proud of that. But
So St. Patty's Day your day, or what?
Yeah, St. Patty's Day is my day for sure. And if anyone knows me even a little bit, they know I'm a diehard Red Wings fan from way back when I was a small town girl. I love the Wings, and I love all sports. Super proud of what the Lions are doing, happy about the Pistons, the Tigers. I'm a huge college sports fan, and I love the human element. I've always got to be looking up what the players are all about, on Wikipedia, a little bit about them. And I think that just kind of plays into how I am as a person. I love people, what makes them tick. So when I'm not working, I like to attend sporting events. My husband and I do spend a lot of time at our lake house, which is in between like Ann Arbor and Novi, or Brighton. It's close to Brighton. We love to boat and swim. But the other thing I love, other than, boating and swimming, is golf. I like to bike, and music is super important to me. So I love any type of concert, but the more I appreciate the music, the more I like small venue music. And Michigan has some great small venues like the Arc in Ann Arbor. So I'm all about music. And having said all of that, I don't have kids and I don't have pets right now. So because I am a people person, I like to spend my time around people. And I'm super passionate about spending time with my siblings, and I have 6 nieces and nephews, and then they're having kids, and so they're really at the center of my life. But if you really, really know me, you know that I have a sense of humor and I love good sarcasm. So I do tend to find humor in most things going on in life, and that kind of keeps me, I guess, even and keeps me grounded is having a sense of humor about even the toughest things out there.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same. There's a quote that I like to always bring up that says, "If you take life too seriously, you'll never get out alive." Right? So, I mean, isn't
Absolutely.
that the truth?
I
Right?
like that.
We're all gonna end up at the same at the same destination. So we might as well enjoy the journey, right?
That is correct. I like that.
Speaking of journey, I don't know why it just made me think of journey, but music. What's on
Mhm.
your playlist, Karen? Who are you listening to right
Oh,
now? What are your
yeah.
favorite artists?
Well, to go old school, I'm always listening to Stevie Nicks and her old stuff and Fleetwood Mac.
Are you
Of
going to
course,
the concert coming up?
I actually saw her in September in Your World over at Van Andel. So
Oh, you
just saw
did.
her.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
And I like the classic rock, Bob Seger, he's a local guy. So I like all that. But then I call it a little bit of nerd rock. I'm a Bare Naked Ladies fan. There's a lot of Celtic Canadian bands that my husband and I have been turned on to, which are great. And I like a little bit of country too. So my playlist is, wow, it's pretty diversified. I'm not a big jazz fan, but I'm always willing to try. So anything really other than jazz, I'll listen to. And there's a lot of great music out there that is, I call it non-genre specific. That once you find it, you hang on to it. And one of the things that we've done a lot of our music cruise festivals over the years, and where you're cruising on a ship, but it's concerts from noon until 2 a.m. And that's where I've kind of gotten to know a lot of my more favorite bands in the last few years.
That sounds pretty awesome. I
It's
didn't know
fun.
that things like that existed.
They do, and
What are
we
they
just
called?
they're well. There's several companies that offer them. They're cruises with a music festival on them, and we've done a lot, and we haven't done one since COVID. So we signed up for one for
It's
next
about time,
winter, and
huh?
already looking forward to it. Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. Yeah. I had to bring up the music piece because music is huge in my life. It was a huge connector for me and my dad. And I know my love of classic rock and roll comes from my
Hmm.
dad. And I love all music, really. Or I shouldn't say I love all music. I will listen to all types of music. There's some that I don't necessarily prefer,
Hmm.
but music is so important to me. It's how you get through life and get through tough times
Hmm.
at times. So I just wanted to hear who you are listening
Yeah.
to. So thank you for sharing that, Karen.
Sure.
Red Wings also. Tell us
Hmm.
about the Red Wings, Karen. What is going on with the Red Wings? Are they on the
Yep.
comeback?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's headed in a great direction. I'm super excited about that. And for anybody that was following them back in the 90s, the years leading up to the Cups, it's something I hope we get back to, because the journey to get to those places is really as much fun as when someone does achieve, that final victory. So I am hoping they are on their way, but it's been really fun to watch this year, last month in
Yeah,
particular.
that's great. As we kind of wrap things up here, I like to ask everyone, one positive take that they have on the mortgage industry, or
Mhm.
something that they can leave our listeners with. Give us your one positive take for 2025 and beyond.
I know there's a lot of unknowns, and people, they when I'm out and about seeing, in particular, loan officers, they talk a lot about the worry and the stress and the unknown. And I absolutely understand that and respect that. It's, we've had some weird years, right? But our business is just that. It is always different. It is never the same from one year to the next year. And I always think about, really at the core of everything we do in life, whether it's professional or personal, it's so much of it is how you handle everything that comes at you. And I learned so long ago in my 20s, again, back at Glenn Computer, worked for the wonderful owner, Glenn Leibowitz, and he allowed each of us to take the Dale Carnegie Human Relations course. And I learned something back then that has helped me throughout my entire life, my entire career, and I've never forgotten it. Actually, I learned two things. One is worry. Worry, it just sucks the life out of you. It takes you out of the present. It causes you to be idle and to think about something that just causes you even more worry. And so when it comes to worry, what I learned was think about whatever you're worried about. What are the chances that that's really going to happen? And then if it does happen, you better have a plan, right? What's your plan? How are you prepared to get through that event that's causing you worry? But a lot of times the things that cause us worry really don't ever happen, but they take you out of being present. People who spend entire Sundays being worried about the week ahead instead of enjoying that day off. What has really helped me in my life and my career is be present in the moment and have a plan. And I just say to people, yes, you're worried about where's the next loan coming from, where's business going to come in, but have your plan, work your plan, and it tends to work out, right, when you invest the time. And you know that, Steve, you've been doing that. You had a fantastic year last year. I seem to remember it was a great year. Not
Yep.
probably what you expected in kind of a strange mortgage cycle, but you had a plan, you worked the plan, and look what it did. And so that's something I always say to people. Try to put worry into perspective, right? Really think about what you're worried about and if it's really necessary to worry. And then, two, something else I learned long ago. If you want to be a winner, surround yourself with winners, right? Be around people that are positive, that are forward thinking, that want to help you, that want to listen to you. And just to pull it all back to our industry, we have a lot of winners out there who are willing to help and mentor, and the association is full of people like that. So surround yourself with those types of people. It's always going to be a bumpy ride in the industry, even when we're super busy. It's bumpy because we're super busy.
There's always problems, right? No
Absolutely.
matter which side you're on, right?
But the more problems we have, the more ability we have to solve them and make a difference for others and grow relationships and grow business. So embrace it and just find a little bit of joy in every day. And it's not rocket science. It's just what's worked for me. And I appreciate the time to come on and talk with you. Thanks for letting me share.
Karen, those are wonderful points to bring up. I thank you for sharing that. Dale Carnegie, personally, How to Win Friends and Influence People was a book that one of my college professors had us read in a marketing
Mm-hmm.
negotiations class. One of the most, for me, transformational books I've ever read, just
Yep.
about treating other people.
Fantastic.
So I'm glad that you also have learned from Dale Carnegie. I mean, how long ago did he pass away? And his teachings are
Yeah.
still being taught today, right? So if you haven't listened or read a Dale Carnegie book, you should definitely do that.
It's
What would you
timeless.
say about your experience with Dale Carnegie?
It's timeless information. A lot of people think it's all about learning how to public speak, which that's a big part of it, or learning sales skills, big part of it. But just little things along the way, like I just said, it stuck with me, and that was in 1989 that I first heard those two things, and it has stuck with me all these years. So it's good stuff.
I appreciate the uplifting message, Karen. It's been great having you